Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird joining you live from Grand Pacifica, Nicaragua. It is a beautiful day here today, as usual. The wind isn't too bad, so we're out here on the balcony. This week on our class, we're weekly lesson, so to speak, which you can get in and watch live with Dr. Stillman and I at I believe it's at 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays. It's about mind-body medicine, which is something a lot of people don't really talk about, that Dr. Stillman and I, in our group coaching calls on the medical side and on the coaching side, spend a lot of time, as we get to know people, getting into, the mental aspect of things, which a lot of people are in a bad place because they haven't dealt with past trauma or they've got emotional relationship things that they're causing them to medicate themselves. So my apologies for not being consistent with the time. I get on here sometime between around 9-ish, 10-ish. It depends. When I plug my internet at night, I plug my Wi-Fi router in my internet. When the morning, when I plug it in, it takes time for it to reset. So it doesn't come up right away. So sometimes, depending on when it decides to kick on, the system doesn't like being unplugged, but I like sleeping without my Wi-Fi. So that's what I do. And for some reason up here, the hardwire isn't working. So probably have to run a cable from downstairs. We'll figure that out. But yeah, the class this week is going to be a lot of fun. If you get on the email list at stillmanwellness.com, you'll get an email Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. You'll be able to register on StreamYard. If you're in the Fundamentals of Wellness course with coaching, which I have a coaching call this evening, it's it'll be added under Wellness Secrets. You can watch it there, and so are all the other videos that we've done in our weekly classes. It's just kind of a bonus for the people on the email list. We let them watch these recorded lessons. So interesting topic today. I can't stop eating. What should I do? This is from a conversation I had with somebody. And this is very, very common. If you look at a book by Rob Wolf, my friend Rob Wolf, called Wired to Eat, The Neuroregulation of Appetite, we really live in a cesspool of, we basically, our bodies are designed to eat as much as possible and to move as little as possible, because in the past, we really had, you had to build your shelter, you had to gather resources, you had to do a lot of work to get food. You either had to hunt it or grow it. It wasn't just made for you at a factory, right? And so you had to do a lot of manual labor. So the body is trying to conserve resources. And on the other hand, calories were very hard to find, and now they're not. They're everywhere. Even here in Nicaragua, it's pretty easy to get calories, just general calories. Whether those calories are valuable or not is another argument. But there's not the junk food here that there is in the United States. And if it is, the junk food here is simpler. There's less ingredients. There's less chemicals. So it's much simpler stuff. It's a lot easier to eat a bag of chips here and then put it down and not eat the whole bag for whatever reason. Same with like things like Coke. It's just made with simple one ingredient sugarcane. So it's a lot different. So when you have these processed foods, particularly in the West, the United States in particular, that are designed to kind of derail your neuroregulation of appetite by combining certain flavors and salts and fats, and they've got it down to a science on how to get you to eat more stuff. And then two, majority of people have a broken circadian clock and circadian, don't spend that much time outside. And really the only person talking about this really consistently, and he pisses a lot of people off, is Dr. Jack Kruse. Talks about how blue light affects your blood sugar. And I've done experiments on myself where I've taken my blood sugar after eating a meal indoors under fake lights versus outdoors. And I tell you, it's dramatically different. So the light that you're eating under makes a huge difference. And I think that's a big part of the reason why you see people in Europe aren't having the obesity epidemic that they are here in the US, or not in the US, since I'm not in the US, I'm in Nicaragua. But majority of people in Europe, they're eating a lot of their meals outside in cafes. They're generally outside a lot more. That helps regulate your blood sugar. If your blood sugar, is more stable, you're not going to have these uncontrollable rages in appetite. I also think that the pace of modern life and the chronic mental stress is a huge factor, because if you're under that chronic mental stress, you're going to have big blood sugar drips and drops. And so you got a broken circadian rhythm combined with, all sorts of artificial light, combined with foods that you just can't put down, by design, combined with chronic stress, and you end up with this uncontrollable urge to eat stuff, right? And one of the really easiest ways to do that, to really control and to turn that off, is to eat real food. Eggs, bacon, chicken, fish, salmon, sweet potato, beets, regular potato. These things are all like in a combination. If you mix them together, even you can throw rice into that too. If it's eaten with meat and vegetables, it's really, really hard to overeat that stuff. Like, it's almost impossible to eat too much steak. You know, you really have to try hard to do that. But it's very easy to eat cupcakes, brownies, bread products. Those things are very easy to eat a lot of. Pizza. And there's nothing wrong with having pizza from time to time, particularly if you make it at home. But it's very easy to overconsume those things. So I tell people all the time, if they're struggling, there's a few things you can do. If you're struggling, make sure you're eating like a good whack fistful of protein at every meal. That's going to help shut your appetite off. It's going to help fill you up. Satiety. Same with like having some fat at every meal as well. That's going to help turn your appetite off. Slow down and chew your food. Be present when you sit down and eat. Don't be multitasking. Slow down, take a few breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, relax, get yourself in a calm place, actually chew and enjoy your food. And a lot of people think that if you're eating just real food, it can't taste good, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. You can add all sorts of salsas and guacamole and all sorts of different seasonings and spices to make things taste really, really, really good, so that um, it tastes good, but it's still very nutrient dense. Nutrient dense food is also going to help as well. If your body is getting the nutrients it needs, a lot of the foods that are in the grocery store that are processed, they don't have any really nutritional value to them, but they have all the tastes that come with that. That they take the lime taste, they take all these different tastes in nature that would have a lot of nutrition in them, and they put them in these foods. So you eat them and the body thinks, oh, this is good, I'm going to eat more of this. But then it doesn't get the nutrients that it needs. And the body says, well, I just ate all these calories, but I didn't get the amino acids I need. I didn't get the micronutrients. I didn't get the minerals I need. I need to keep eating so I can find those minerals. And you just keep eating and eating. So that's a big part of it as well. So I always tell people, if you basically are having problems with hunger, just eat more just keep a bunch of, cook some burger patties up, cook some chicken breast up, put some marinade on them, whatever you need to do, and eat those. Like if you're starving, in the evening and you haven't eaten enough, or I mean, if you've had these uncontrollable urges, appetite, just eat a couple burger patties with cheese on them and eat that. That's going to be much better than you eating, chips or whatever else that you decide to eat instead. End that blood sugar roller coaster, and then make sure you fill up on something that's actually going to fill you up. It's pretty hard to overeat things, even apples. It is very easy to overeat nuts, things like almonds and cashews. It's very easy. You can just eat the whole bag of those. So you want to keep those to a handful. But it's pretty simple. That's why I like the vertical diet. It's very fulfilling and satiating. Particularly, you can manipulate it. You can add more root vegetables, things like carrots and beets, parsnips, things like that. If you're really worried about trying to lose weight, as opposed to things like white rice, which is more for, fueling athletic performance and putting on muscle mass, right? And then everybody should really at least once kind of put their food data in something like Chronometer, so you can kind of see roughly how many calories you're eating. And then your caloric demand is going to be, managed by, demand of your activity level. Obviously, if you're trying to gain weight, put on muscle mass, you're going to have to eat a little more. If you're sedentary, but there's some guidelines for you. You want to keep it really simple, but if you eat like an omnivore, which is what we are, where you're eating a protein at every meal with vegetables and a little bit of starch. And obviously I try to eat seasonally. I'm in Nicaragua, so all the rules are out the window for me. I'm, Pineapples are on the menu just about every day for me. Things like cantaloupe, watermelon. I'm eating something like that every day, which I've never done before in my life, essentially. Um, but protein at every meal, vegetables, and some sort of starch, root vegetables. Um, if you eat like that, it's going to be much easier for you to control your appetite and get your size. Some people will fast to kind of reset things, and that does work for some people. You kind of have to experiment that for a while, but I would really focus on getting your light environment right, getting the lights off at night. I think that's something that's really overlooked. If your circadian rhythm is in order, the chances of your appetite being all out of whack are much less. Get out in the sun as much as you can. I know it's hard in the northern latitudes, but do the best you can to be more of an outdoor creature, particularly in the summer. Move your office outside like I have, particularly if you work from home. If you work in an office, take sun breaks during the day. Other people take smoke breaks. You take a sun break. These are all simple things that you can do to get your body healthy. And the healthier your body is, the better you're going to have a chance of regulating your appetite. So whoever liked that, thanks for the like. I appreciate it. If you get a chance, drop a like. If you have a question, a comment, please drop it in the comments. I appreciate you watching. I get a lot of great, I because of the way I'm a smaller channel, I haven't been consistent in posting over the years. If I'd have kept, posting in the very early YouTube days, I did a lot of YouTube stuff. I've got one video that's got, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of views. It's called Prowler Sled Hell. If I'd have been a little more consistent in the past, who knows where my channel would be now, but that's besides the point. But the people that I have watching these leave all sorts of great comments, wonderful questions. So it's much better to have less viewers and less people watching that are high quality people than it is to have a whole bunch of bots and people that are not engaged. So the people that do watch us, I really appreciate it. And we get a lot of people on our weekly class, which is really great. We usually have somewhere between 50 to 60 people watching live, and then we get, everybody gets the replay. Usually somewhere between 100 and 150 people sign up for those weekly lessons, which is wonderful. We get a lot of interaction with our clients on our fundamentals of wellness coaching calls, and so that's great. We really enjoy doing that. So to review, slow down, chew your food, eat a protein at every meal, a fistful. When in doubt, eat more protein or eat real food. Stay away from chips and all those things. If you do eat something like that, have it after a meal. Go for a walk. Try and go for a walk after your meals. That stabilizes your blood sugar. Take your light environment seriously. Get your circadian rhythm in order. Get outside multiple times a day, particularly in the morning. Get the lights off at night. Get your body healthy in general, and your neuroregulation of appetite will start to come back. There's another great thing called the leptin reset, where you eat a big whack of protein and fat in the morning. That really works well to set people's appetite. They have. The problem is, Jim says, I'm sure Big Pharmaceutical has figured out how to get you to stop eating. I'm sure Big Food has also figured out how to keep eating. Yeah, that's correct. The big food companies understand evolutionary biology better than the evolutionary biologists do, and that's why they combine, that's why Doritos taste the way they do. It's so you can't stop eating them, or Lay's potato chips. They know the right combination of salt and fat and carbs to make you keep eating, and they're pushing Ozempic now. That is correct, Dan Green. That the eggs, they fill up that fat protein combination is awesome. Eggs are so nutritionally dense, and that's one of the reasons why steak and eggs for breakfast is one of the best things you can possibly do, or steak and nuts, things like that. Really helps regulate your appetite. But Big Pharma's pushing Ozempic, and they're basically saying that the vast majority of people, particularly teens, need to be on Ozempic, which basically drastically reduces your appetite. But it also has some side effects, particularly if you don't change your lifestyle. It slows the digestion process down. I think it could be useful if combined with strength training and lifestyle change. But then when you come off it, and they haven't really studied this stuff very much. When you come off it, most people just go back to the habits. They haven't changed their habits. They haven't changed their eating habits. Kind of like The Biggest Loser. They just beat the crap out of people and starve them. And yes, there's been paralysis of the stomach. Is one of the side effects, is it slows your digestion down, and people are taking it in really big dosages, big boluses, which cause even more side effects. So people don't have an Ozempic deficiency. They have a lifestyle problem. And I'm not saying it's not a tool. If used appropriately, it can be to help people take the edge off. There are people that have serious food addictions that need a little help, but it shouldn't be the go-to first thing that you do. These clinics are popping up everywhere, and everyone wants a really easy, simple solution, right? But usually easy, simple solutions come, methamphetamines is great for losing weight. But obviously that has consequences as well. But the big root cause of this is the government subsidizing the foods that are making people sick, essentially, and the indoor lifestyle. I will add that as well. You can get away with a lot if you live an outdoor lifestyle, and you're in tune with the sun and nature. The body's pretty amazing as far as that's concerned. But all the foods, the processed foods, the like, why does a Twinkie why does a Twinkie, why is that cheaper than a carrot, or a Pop-Tart is cheaper than a carrot? Carrot grows in the ground. A Pop-Tart is highly, in a factory, because the government subsidizes that. The corn starch, the soybean oil, all these things that are used in these foods are subsidized by the government. And then of course people get sick, and then they get put on metformin and insulin and all the other things, and Ozempic and whatever else. And so it's just just like a cascade of circular. And then of course the food industry is in charge of educating people about nutrition. So they make recommendations like, the food pyramid should be upside down. It was actually, if you look at the history of the food pyramid, the people that actually wrote it were shocked when they actually saw. And it's not just, the dairy industry. The calcium recommendations were lobbied by the dairy industry. So there's a lot of politics and a lot of money that is involved in this research and all these different things. So the best thing you can do is just stick to real food, steak, eggs, chicken, fish, root vegetables. If you have a goal of gaining muscle mass, you're going to want to use some starch after your training sessions, but just stick to that real food, and your brain's going to figure that out. Especially if you're outside, your body's in a good, healthy place. You're managing stress. Most people are going to be able to pull out of that neurodegeneration of your appetite, which is basically your brain loses the ability to control your appetite. And if you want to get a book that really goes in depth into that, Rob Wolf wrote one called Wired to Eat. It's a really good explanation of how your brain, with tastes and different combinations of things. For example, if you're a competition eater and it's an ice cream eating contest, you'll eat ice cream, and at a certain point, you can't eat any more ice cream. If you have like some French fries with salt, the salt combined with the French fry with the oil overrides that neuroregulation of appetite, and you can continue to eat ice cream. So you'll look at competition eaters, they'll have tricks like that so they can eat more food. So crazy stuff. Well, I appreciate everyone being here. Make sure you get outside today, keep things simple, and have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.